Hello, Michael Over here, professor of English at Shoreline Community College in Seattle. This video is intended for my English 102 class, but really for anybody who's kind of working on academic research. So we're going to talk today about research methods and MLA. So I actually want to just go ahead and start with research because that's kind of the big part of it, right? How do you cite something until you know what you're citing, right? So when you think about doing research or finding out something, you want to find out some information. What do you use, right? You use one of the general search engines that are on the interwebs, Google, Bing, something like that. Whatever you use to find your cat videos, that's a search engine, right? And it's used for kind of an informal search, nothing really detailed, nothing that needs to be super reliable, but just kind of like finding stuff. And that's totally fine. That's what it's created for. The big surprise is not all of the information that you find on the interwebs is reliable. Some of it is put together by people who are either trying to intentionally trick you or unintentionally have, made mistakes, right? Don't have all the information. So the two problems with using something like Google for academic research is reliability and authenticity, which is kind of the same thing. But what we're going to use is we're going to use a different search engine that operates the same way. Okay. So the first thing is we're going to introduce ourselves to Academic Search Complete. Now, hopefully at this point you read the piece by Holler called Walk, Talk, Cook, Eat. Now, that provides a good series of metaphors for how we can do research, right? How we can do good academic research. We walk to the library. That's that thing, that building with all the books in it. There's stuff in there that you can use. You don't have to rely solely on the internet. And sometimes having a physical book can make a big difference. And there's additional information that you can pull from that to beef up your research. You can talk. You can engage in the conversation. You can cook. In other words, you start to bring together your ingredients. And then eat is, of course, the metaphor for consuming the information, right? But what I want to talk about is what Holler discusses briefly, which is a Boolean search. So it's a big fancy word which is, sort of covers how to use a search engine. So Google can do this, Bing can do this, but really Academic Search Complete is set up in the upper left-hand corner with a little Boolean search bar. And this allows you to not only put in keywords like cute puppy videos, but also to use words like and, or, and not. So I can put in cute and puppy videos. That will give me everything that includes those two terms, cute and puppy videos. If, however, I want puppies and kittens, I can say cute, puppy, or kitty videos. That will give me both cat videos and dog videos, right? So that's broadening it out. So whereas the and narrows it, right? I want just the things that are this, or broadens it. That's going to get you everything. Now I can also use not. So if I want cute videos of animals, but not cat videos, I can do cute animal videos, not cat. So that will bring up only the things that are cute videos of animals that are not cats, which would disappoint my daughter. But that's okay, we won't tell her. So those Boolean searches really help you kind of narrow it down. And so you can see if I looked up artificial intelligence in Academic Search Complete, and this is what it looks like, right? You can see this major search bar, the ands there, which allow you to add something in. And I look up artificial intelligence. Well, I get 41,195 possible articles to look at. That's a lot. I'm not going to be able to look through all those. And a lot of those are going to have to do with artificial intelligence and things that I'm not necessarily interested in. So if I had and ethics, now that search is kind of like narrowing down, right? That and narrows it. So now I've gone down to 220 options. Now that's pretty good. That's a lot less to look at and a lot less to sort of sift through, because these are things that I'm going to have to actually open all 220 of these and look at them and evaluate. Are they going to help me with my research? Are they useful? Or am I wasting my time? So I can narrow it down a little bit more. Now I chose the word advancements. So now I have artificial intelligence, ethics, and advancements. This narrows it down to 7 possible articles. That's pretty darn good. I can look through these 7 probably relatively quickly, using some of the skills we'll talk about a little bit more in class and how to sort of sift through these things a little bit more easily. But now I've got a lot less. It's a little bit less daunting, right? And all of that is using those little friends, those Boolean searches. Now, a couple other things about Academic Search Complete. My suggestions is, one of my suggestions, first suggestion, is to use the full text search. Full text will bring up only options that you have full access to, which means right there in your pajamas on your couch, you can read the entire article. You don't have to like go to the library, you don't have to do anything else. So go ahead and click that full text every time. I always make sure that I click it at the beginning of each search, because for some reason it doesn't like to keep it in mind. Now the other thing that I like to do is I like to click this academic journals part. Well, academic journals automatically means that I've got academic and scholarly sources. That's a huge win for you, especially with some of the assignments that we're going to do in class, which ask you to use only academic sources. So if you click that academic thing, you know that Academic Search Complete is only turning up academic journals. Now, if you've clicked the full text box, you're going to get full text academic journals, which is pretty darn handy. Okay, so I've talked a little bit about academic sources, and let me just recap there, because I'm not sure I covered this. I suppose I could rerun the video, but that's kind of weird. An academic journal, an academic source, is a source that has probably been written by a professor or another expert, and once they've written it and submitted it to a journal, other experts, their peers, have read that and said, yes, this is good information, this is accurate information. That's why we like to use it. It's been checked and double checked, and we're sure that it's all accurate. Now, on the other side, a popular source is just something that we read for fun, right, or entertainment or whatnot. Now, it can be tricky for some folks to figure out the difference between the two. So some things like, say, the Scientific American or the BBC, those are great sources. They're pretty reliable, but they are not academic sources. They're still popular because they're written by journalists. They're written by writers, which I am, so I have no problem with that. And they're reliable generally, right? They've gone out, they've done their research, but they're not academic. The big difference is a popular source is usually easier to read, it's more digestible, but it's not necessarily going to have the same level of reliability. And we kind of work with both of these, right? So here's an example. So this is a little test on academic or popular, right? So we've got this article here. And I just kind of screenshotted the first bit. How powerful AI technology can lead to unforeseen disasters. Okay, so first thing that I notice is the title. The title is maybe a little bit clickbaity for me to think that it's really an academic source. I've also got kind of a giveaway, the Facebook, Twitter things there. So let's look down. So then I have the author. It doesn't say anything like PhD or MA or anything like that that would indicate that this person is a professor. So I'm going to assume that this person is a journalist. The date is good. The date is relatively recent, so that's fine. Now I've got the first couple sentences, right? So self-driving cars and robots that can zoom on their own around warehouses are just some of what's possible because of artificial intelligence. But expect unforeseen consequences if researchers ignore the inherent ethical dilemmas in the emerging technology. Okay, so one thing that I'm going to look at right away is the word choice. So I've got zoom on their own. what's possible, those things, I wouldn't expect to see the word zoom around or the words zoom around in an academic article. So that's probably a pretty good giveaway. So we also see there's no abstract, so most academic sources start with an abstract. That's a short paragraph or two, which is kind of a preview. That's like, here's what the whole thing is about. And when you're researching your academic sources, that's a great thing to look at. It's just the abstract. You often don't have to read the entire article, especially if it's like 15 or 20 pages. It's going to be a big pain. This article was published in Fortune magazine, which is definitely reliable. It's a well-known, reputable magazine. However, it is not academic. Here's another one. Artificial Intelligence and Robot Responsibilities Innovating Beyond Rights. It's a little, I don't know, it doesn't sound that interesting necessarily to me. If I were at the doctor's office and I picked this up, I don't know if that's what I really want to read just to pass the time. I've got the author's name. Now, in this case, I don't have any information that says PhD or MA or anything, so I don't know. So maybe it's a journalist. I'm going to look down below. I get, instead of just a date, I get received, accepted, and published. Now that tells me something. That tells me that that journal received the submission, they reviewed it, and then they accepted it, right? And we see January to March, so several months went by in there, and then published. Okay, I've also got an abstract here, which, again, pretty dead giveaway that this is going to be an academic source. First couple sentences here. The enduring innovations in artificial intelligence and robotics offer the promised capacity of computer consciousness, sentience, and rationality. The development of these advanced technologies have been considered to merit rights. However, these can only be ascribed in the context of commensurate responsibilities and duties. That is not a light read. That is dense. Now again, think about the wording, right? The enduring innovations in artificial intelligence and robotics offer the promised capacity for. Okay, so there we go. So wording as well. So this is one way that you can definitely, if you're not sure, title, abstract, who published it, when it was published, all those things. Now this one, on that document, it actually tells us where it was published. It was published in Science and Engineering Ethics. That does not sound like something my grandma would have on her coffee table. Maybe yours does. Maybe your grandma's into that sort of thing. That's fine. Go grandma. But here, that is a giveaway, right? A lot of the time, if we see like something was published in the American Medical Association journal, that's a pretty good giveaway. Academic sources are often targeted to a really specific audience. The audience is generally made up of other professionals. I might read ESPN. I'm not an athlete. I'm not learning how to be a better athlete from that. Likewise, Scientific American gives us some interesting scientific information. I'm not a scientist. I'm not going to go build a robot. Whereas if I was looking to build something or get into that field, I would look for a specific journal. Okay, so quick note on how to use academic sources, and maybe I'll just make a separate video for the MLA stuff. It'll be easier, I think. So read the abstract, right? You can often decide just from the abstract whether or not that article is going to be useful. Look at the subheadings. A lot of the time, an academic journal will use subheadings or section headings to kind of guide you through things, and you can kind of skip to those things. Take a look at any charts, diagrams, pictures, images. That should help you figure it out. When I'm evaluating a source to see if it's useful, a lot of the time I'll just go to those charts and graphs and whatnot to see what's there. You can read the conclusion, you can skim the conclusion. The real thing here is that the sources can be really, really, really dense, and you're probably not going to get through the whole thing, especially some of these academic essays or articles or whatever that are 15 or 20 pages when you probably only need a handful of quotes from it. Okay, you know what? Let's go ahead and do some MLA stuff here. So MLA is the Modern Language Association. This is the handbook that we use. You don't have this. I don't require it because it's kind of superfluous for our purposes. Everything that you need you can find at Purdue OWL, Purdueowl. It's the Purdue Online Writing Lab. Has a bunch of great information. If you ever get stuck, You can, of course, email me or ask me, but if I'm not available, you need to find out. It's 11:58 p.m. and your assignment's due in 1 minute. Not that anybody would do that. You guys are all, I can tell. I can, just looking at you, I can tell that you guys are on top of it. You can find the information there, right? So, from the first MLA assignment, you should know the basic format of how to set up your papers. Now, MLA is used in the humanities just to make sure everything's uniform and everything looks exactly the same, so that as a professor, I can find your name, the class, the date, the assignment. If your pages get jumbled, I can put them back in order. So, the basics. Start with header. Header is that little thing in the upper left-hand corner that has all of the basic information. Your name. Underneath that is your professor's name. Underneath that is the course. Underneath that is the date, and that would be day, month, year. That's a very specific sort of tidbit for MLA format. The title is centered, and then the body text is all double-spaced, and each paragraph is tabbed in once. That's a little TAB button that will move your cursor over 5 spaces or so. There's no extra space between your header and your title, no extra space between your title and your body paragraphs. In the upper right-hand corner, your last name and the page number. The best way to do that is to double-click on the top, open the header. You can insert page number and then type your name in there, and then it will just go ahead and apply that to all the pages. You don't have to worry about it. MLA also incorporates how you cite information, so how you attribute, you give attribution to whoever wrote the thing. So like, in other words, if you wrote an essay and I wanted to cite it in mine, I would quote you and then in parentheses put your last name and whatever page number, the closing parentheses, and then a period. And we'll talk about all that too, because that's a little bit tricky. All the way at the end is the Works Cited. This is all of the information for each source that you have used in your essay. It's all alphabetical by author last name. We use a hanging indent, which we'll talk about more in class. And in MLA, it's pretty straightforward. If there is no information for something, there's no author, you just leave it blank. You're probably going to have a title. You may not have page numbers. If it's an online source that's not an academic journal, you're probably not going to have page numbers. So you just leave it out. You don't have to say what page numbers. And the same would be true for your in-text citations. We'll go over this several times, and when we get to the annotated bibliography, you'll really be able to practice it. Side note, MLA is used in the humanities, APA, and Chicago are used in other disciplines, psych, sociology, things like that. Just know that there are different styles, and there's style guides. And really, as a writer, I've encountered this working for different companies. Each company, especially big companies like, say, Amazon or Microsoft or Starbucks, they have their own style guide, which is how they want everything to look. So just know that even though it seems weird that each discipline has a different way of doing things, that's the same within that, so that somebody within the humanities understands what they're looking at, understands from your in-text citation where to find the actual source that you used. And the same would be true in APA or Chicago. Okay, so that is a relatively quick, I don't know, I talked at you for almost 20 minutes now, guide through research methods and MLA. We're going to talk about these more in class, but since this is a hybrid class, I wanted to get at least a little bit out of this out of the way so that we can dive into kind of the exercise and working with these things, okay? So I will see you in class. Email me with questions. Have a good day. Go watch cat videos.